Saturday night. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Holly Holdren.
On the first and third Wednesday mornings each month at 9:05 a.m., Robert Colin with On Top of the World will be our guest as we learn all about the exciting lifestyle and new home choices available at Ocala's premier adult active community, On Top of the World. From time to time, Robert will bring guests, and you're sure to enjoy our little chats. After all, you deserve the world, and we bring it to you. This is Ocala Talks with Tom Schmidt, bringing stories that are important to our community in and around Ocala. Plus, of course, a splash of sports as well. Now, here's your host, Tom.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks, hour number 2. Fast show moving. Right now in the studio with me is Robert Colon from On Top of the World, and he's brought with him Brian Runyon, who is the remodeling department manager for On Top of the World. Gentlemen, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Robert, before we get started with Brian, I want to say that there's been some good press here lately. There was an article that I read about the new community that is being built at On Top of the World. We've talked about it here before. I never remember the name, though. I can't.
Kalesa.
I can never say it right.
Right.
I want to say Khaleesi. I want to say all kinds of things. But Kalesa, and that's a community that's not deed restricted, not 55 plus deed restricted.
Well, it's deed restricted. It's just not 55
right,
plus.
Not 55 plus
families.
Restricted. It's for families. You're going to have a charter school there, a natatorium that is world class.
World class. That's right.
And a lot of people. I had a friend of mine who his daughter is a world class. 14-year-old world-class swimmer out of the Dynamo Club in Atlanta. And he called saying, hey, tell me about this thing going on Top of the World with this natatorium and everything. Because I know for a fact parents will move for their kids and their kids to achieve at sports.
Yep.
And he's inquiring about, and I know Dynamo is a great club, got Olympic gold medalists to come out of Dynamo Atlanta. And here's a father who is talking about taking his daughter out of that to come be a part of your natatorium.
Well, you think about, Kalesa, which is right there near Ocala International Airport, across between 80th Avenue and 60th Avenue and 38th Street. So give you an idea, southwest Ocala. There's going to be thousands of homes in there. It's going to have the natatorium will be right there. The Ina A. Colon Academy, which we just hired a new principal, which that'll be open in August of 2022. The natatorium will be open in like February of 2022. So we're moving quickly on those things. So you just be able to buy a house, have your family live in a community where you can walk to school, you can ride your bike to school, you can walk to the big swimming pool, which will have an indoor pool, which will be an Olympic-sized indoor pool that'll be designed for world-class events, an outdoor swimming pool for long and short course. You'll have a splash pad area. And then just being able to enjoy the whole park system that the Kalesa will provide. It really is. And we've talked about this before, like a throwback to another time where you could just enjoy your life. You could walk.
You knew your neighbors.
You knew your neighbors.
Like that, yeah.
You enjoyed the park across the street from you. Your kids could go outside and you would feel safe with that. So it's really something really special that's being built, and we're really excited by it. But I brought Brian here because Brian is our remodel manager. And I was just talking to Brian outside. I said, when Kalesa gets built, what kind of remodels are new home buyers, younger families going to be interested in doing to their house? Because Brian spends a lot of his time specializing with the senior community, and we could talk about kind of what are the remodels that he does there. And, if people have ideas of what would they want to do, Brian's got great ideas on what's being done and what can be done. But what I was saying, Brian, what kind of stuff goes on? What would a new family want to do in Kalesa that would be, interesting?
Good morning, everybody. Some of the things that we're looking at and that we're actually set up to do is we've got outdoor living space and projects that we do from outdoor kitchens. We also do fire pits. We'll terrace off the area, but depending on what the grade is of the property. So with pavers, or we can install a deck, incorporate the deck to whatever lifestyle that they've got. If it's a fire pit and a deck incorporated, we'll do a lot of pergolas, and of course play sets.
I know a friend of mine who bought a new home, and I thought it was the weirdest thing. In 2004, he bought a brand new home, brand new construction built home, and about 2.5 months after he bought it, he does a massive remodel of the bathroom. And I went, what the hell's your problem? This is a brand new home. He goes, everything about this home was perfect except the bathroom.
Right.
So once we got moved in, we renovated the master bathroom. They didn't like the tub and the shower and how it was. So that happens. People don't think that happens a lot, but that happens quite a bit where everything's perfect about this house, but this one thing, but we can remodel that and fix it.
Brian, I don't want to speak for you, but you just did one where the lady just bought a new home and put $100,000 into a remodel.
Yeah, we actually have quite a few people that, and what has changed within our business is there's a good percentage of customers that literally do that. They'll move in, some of them with the intent, even prior to the closing date, already know that
They're going to renovate stuff.
Well, absolutely. Whether it's a slightly different kitchen or then moving to the outside, closing in a lanai, making it a sunroom, doing these outdoor living spaces. My gosh, we've done a lot of bird cages, and then within that space, because they don't want the bugs and they want to stay out of the elements, we'll incorporate everything that you can imagine inside that bird cage. And the footprint of that obviously has got to be pretty large. But,
Like outdoor kitchens and
we do, there's outdoor kitchens, of course, hot tubs and swimming pools and any type of entertaining space. We've incorporated where we would cut out some of the grade of the property, and as you terrace that down, then part of that is the wall that you would sit at when you're at the fire pit, and then the other portion is level, and they'll have a few out-on-deck chairs out and around that.
It's one of the big things. I know a lot of people, and you know, I don't know all the floor plans on top of the world, but I know a lot of people will buy a house. It's got stone in it, it's got wood in it, and it's got carpet in it as well. And the first thing they want to do is say, okay, now I want to rip all this carpet up and put tile or laminate or wood, hardwood flooring down. Even though the house is brand new, that's a remodel.
Yeah, anytime we're touching the house after it's been completed, we consider that a remodel. We've got a number of people that do exactly that. They'll decide that they want carpet, then they're in the home for less than a month, maybe 2 months, realize they want that tile to continue throughout. It pulls, there's a few challenges for us when that happens due to dye lots and tile matching and all of that stuff, but there's ways that we can get around that and still make that transition and tie it into the rest of the home.
You're pretty much the guy that can make it happen if people need renovations. They call you. You can figure it out.
Yeah, I've got a design background, so we have a design studio as well. And through all of that, we've got a number of people that are out there talking with customers and having some doing sales. What we do is have the conversations with them, figure out what the dream is, how can we build that, and then of course complete that project.
How much of what you do, though, also assist homeowners in understanding what they can and can't do through their associations and what? Because you know, some people say, "Well, I want a 10-foot tall privacy fence. I want a tree house in the oak tree, and I want gun turrets that look like castles." We can't do that, folks. That's not allowed in this neighborhood.
No.
How much do you have to coach people on what they can and can't do?
So one of the first conversations when we go out and meet with them is we're going to start to look at the setbacks, if it's a project that's outside or if it's an addition or if, what their plans are. Interior, obviously, we can do a lot of things. On the exterior, we do have setbacks and then HOAs. So we do work inside the gates of OTO. We work outside the gates of On Top of the World as well.
Whenever Brian wants to put like big pink flamingos in the front yard, it's like he calls me and goes, "Is this okay?" I'm like, no big flamingo.
And I call Robert all the time, and I try to push those limits, and he constantly is making sure that we stay within with the guidelines of the ARBs or HOA.
Yeah, because you always hear the nightmares. That's what you hear nightmares of, is my HOA won't let me do this, or my HOA won't let me do that. But I always tell people, didn't you know what you were getting into when you signed that paperwork that said you were buying that home?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the HOA and all is explained to you long before you sign the final paperwork to take possession of the home.
Yeah, and most of what the HOA does, especially with what, in conflict with what Brian does, is if he wants to extend the house backwards some, but it's sitting on a golf course, and the neighbor also paid for a view of that golf course, so you don't want to have one person blocking that person's kind of right, and we have a drawing of what their expected view can be, which is like a 45-degree angle. So that's where we kind of step in with Brian and say, okay, here's their setbacks, here's what the HOA permits. It's all in writing that the homeowner can also look at, but we're just trying to protect the rights of everybody as well.
Does each individual development out there on top of the world, does each individual one have its own HOA, or is there one central HOA? How does that work?
So there's a master HOA, which is different. It doesn't deal with regulating in that regard. Then each one's like Candler Hills, Indigo, Wayborn Landing, On Top of the World Central. Those are all each individual. And then, of course, Colesso will have its own and managed by its own company. But for like Wayborn, like there are rules that are a little bit different. Like Wayborn and Indigo have different rules on fences than, say, Candler Hills does. Candler is a little more upscale and more golf course associated community. So it doesn't have, you're not really supposed to have fences that go out very far, and if you do, it has to be like a white PVC instead of chain link. Chain link you can do in Indigo and Candler and Wayborn Landing. So it's just there are some changes, there are some differences, but they're fairly neutral to what you should expect. You don't want to do anything that upsets your neighbors. You want to try to restrict making things too ostentatious.
And you don't want to upset. You don't want your neighbors to do anything that upsets you.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
It's a two-sided coin.
That's right.
I had a neighbor when we were living in HOA in Augusta. I had a neighbor that came out and put yellow dye in his driveway and turned his driveway like canary yellow. We're like, no, that doesn't work for us. He's like, but it's my driveway. It's our neighborhood. We're all in this together, and
right, you're affecting my property value.
You are
when you make your polka dotted house.
Exactly. Now, luckily, where I live now, the HOA is we pay the HOA fee, and there's lots of regulations about how you had to hide your well and it with bushes around it, and
right.
you can't have certain fences like chain link, but everybody does. Basically, our HOA says, keep your grass cut, keep your yard in good shape, and we're going to look past everything else.
We'll leave you alone.
Right.
Yeah. And that's right. You're still protecting the neighborhood. And
exactly. Right. So everybody gets, people say, I'll never live in a place that has an HOA. If you have that attitude, you're probably going to live out in the country somewhere.
Right. If you want to have a safe area. Right.
Right, because most developments now have an HOA.
That's right. Most all communities have some sort of a ARB or an HOA that is going to regulate it, or that they even agreed to when they moved into that location.
And is that, when you remodel, is that one of the biggest challenges that you have to get the homeowner to understand, is how you have to work in concert with the rules of the HOA?
I don't know if it's the biggest or hurdle that we deal with. Part of it is just making sure that excuse me, that they understand what that is part of the process. We can talk about design, we can talk about all the wants and the needs and the desires, but there's certain things, regulating factors, and that can be with the county, even if it's not in On Top of the World. There's setbacks that are county mandated, and we can't exceed any of that stuff. There's,
You mean you're not above county ordinances?
No, not at
wow.
all. Not at all.
I love people think I can do whatever I want to. I don't care what the county says.
We can actually be stricter than the county,
Absolutely.
and which is what we do. One of the interesting, what Brian does, and I think you've done a lot of success, had a lot of success doing, is as people age and On Top of the World, especially some of our older communities where people have been there for 20 years and they're getting up into their 80s, and maybe they've had, they're in a wheelchair. You've just suffered what it was to have a back injury or back pain. You know what it's like to, and so you know what it's like to struggle to probably get into the shower and stuff. So Brian does a lot of aging in place remodeling. And I was thinking, what kind of stuff are you seeing right now?
Yeah, we do a lot of aging in place or adaptive remodeling. So if someone has to have a hip replaced, a knee or whatever, matter of fact, we recently had a customer who, prior to the incident, was mobile and no problems whatsoever, and then they became wheelchair bound. The master bathroom had to be reworked. The objective was to make this space of easy so that they could go in and out of the shower and somewhat be maintain themselves.
But you roll themselves into the shower, or they would
Yeah.
still walk into it, or
So the shower, what we were up against is the curb was roughly 6 inches, and obviously you're not going to get a wheelchair up and over that. There's a couple of different options of how we could do that. This particular project, what we did is we took about a foot out of the master shower to make the overall space wider, gave them more room so that they could turn around at the sink with the wheelchair. Redid all of the vanity cabinets, countertops, all of that stuff as well. And then we took about 2 feet out of the dining room, what was the other side of this bathroom. When we did that, the interior space of that dining room was large enough that everything still fits in there. The china cabinet's still there, the buffet, all, as well as the dining room table. But that amount of space that we added into that bathroom and shower is huge when you're adding 2 feet on one side and a foot on the other.
People don't realize it's kind of like pullouts on an RV trailer. People
Absolutely.
say, how much could a pull out? It's only 18 inches in each direction.
Yeah.
But that 3 foot of extra room is huge.
Right.
And in a bathroom, especially if you're wheelchair bound, if you're handicapped, to make it more accessible by going larger, but with handhelds and everything, so it's easier to get in and out of.
and more backing for bracing and for
3
grab
foot's
bars.
3 foot's a ton of room.
Yeah, you're getting, you got a framer coming in to do demolition and doing rebuilds. You got the drywall guys coming in. You got all new tile coming in, and all that's can be costly. And then of course the plumber.
On that particular one, we actually demoed the concrete and the floor so that we could recess the shower pan, which would then give us the ability to make it a zero entry for the wheelchair. Part of my objective was not just to make the space usable for them, but also make it as beautiful as we could. Because understanding that the situation that they were going through was traumatic enough, but yet then they had this space that every time they came in there, it was refreshing. It literally looks like a spa. It's gorgeous.
And you don't like to think about this because it's kind of macabre, but a person that's getting up in age, passing is going to happen sooner than not passing, and you still have to have the resale value on that home.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And so the bathroom still has to be presentable enough that the resale value is there.
The bathroom and the kitchen are two of the areas that sell a house more than anything. Sure.
Do you find as people age and they get older, do you find most of the renovation stuff you do is making bathrooms more accessible to their needs? As like, they need a shower big enough for a shower chair to go in it now. And they need handhelds put maybe in the shower so they can steady themselves. Is a bathroom one of the major areas as people age that you have to do renovations in?
What we see is not only bathrooms, and it depends on the age of the home. So older homes, some of the doorways are much smaller, more narrow. And so then we need to open up those spaces so that they can get through, whether they're on a walker or if they're in a wheelchair. In the bathrooms, obviously, the handheld, we typically put it on a slide so that it can be high enough for resale value, like you mentioned, but also low enough that if somebody needs a chair or is specifically in a wheelchair, that then they're self-sufficient and they can handle that themselves. But in terms of amount of projects that we do that way, there's a decent amount that we do annually, but I would say more of our project base is going in and literally remodeling a home. So as each home sells, the new person wants to then make it theirs. So we'll paint, we'll put crown molding, we do a lot of trim work, we do a lot of additions. We add on sitting areas to master bedrooms. We'll also...
Tom, I'll tell you that having done this originally a couple of years ago, before Brian came on board, that you go in some of the older houses and they're the old Formica tops and Formica cabinets.
There's no granite.
And the carpet everywhere that's been there since 1987. So you're like, well, it's probably time to upgrade a lot of that. And that's where Brian really comes in with a specialty of design and understanding. These cabinets are going to look beautiful, either quartz tops or I don't know what kind of tops you'd like to sell, but...
Well, we've got the availability. We do quartz, granite, Cambria. So we have a wide variety of selections, colors, materials, edging on the countertops, and more importantly, it's trying to understand how that individual wants their home and what their character is and how they can put a part of them into that space so that, again, it's literally not a model home, it's their home. So a lot of the conversation ends up being, are they looking for kind of the shabby chic or the farmhouse look, French country, modern, what kind of style, and we'll start with that, and then we start looking at a color palette, and after that we start working about design and where we can incorporate on the home or on different walls throughout the house, accent walls, and carry that theme throughout.
And that's something that you can do from beginning to end, to the helping and planning of the design and the bringing the vision
Absolutely.
to the paper, and then taking it from the paper to actuality. That's, because a lot of times you have to get an architect, or you have to get somebody to draw the plans, and then their vision. Then you got to go find a contractor with the license, and then they come in and they start doing the demolition. You and what your guys all do. You all encompass that. It's not 3 or 4 people involved. It's you and your team.
It's definitely our department. We have all of that on staff. We've got draftsmen, so we have full art or drafting department. Design-wise, we have a design studio where they can go in and make selections of countertops and cabinets and fixtures, whether it's plumbing or electrical fixtures. So we put everything together for them. It's literally at one stop. It's with us.
Wasn't it much easier 35 years ago when there was just one shower head, there was just one set of switches to turn lights off and on? Now there's so much, like somebody now I know, Kohler, I think, has introduced a shower head that is also a speaker.
Oh, yeah.
So you shower with it and it plays music.
Yeah. I'd be leery of buying that there.
That's just me.
Yeah. They actually have them to where it's hooked up to like an Alexa as well, so
Right.
you can tell it what music you want to listen to. Not sure that's something I'm interested in.
Yeah,
but-
you can tell Alexa, play Ted Nugent while you're in the shower.
Oh, wait, can you do it where you tell Alexa to turn the shower on for you so you can get it hot before you get out
I
there?
don't know. I have not. That's
That's
one-
coming, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's one thing I haven't done.
And that's a big problem. People don't think that's a big problem. Like my master bedroom sits at the opposite side of a 2,600 square foot house of the hot water heater, which is out in the garage.
Yeah,
It takes a minute.
it does.
It
You,
takes
you
a
can get a
minute.
recirculating pump that can help that. But
Absolutely.
if you wanted to, I don't know how much those things go for, but there are ways of dealing with that. But then it's, again, you're spending energy, and it's like, okay, do I really want to? Isn't it just a little bit better for me just to let the water run for the extra minute and a half before I get hot water? So you brush your teeth, you go to the bathroom, whatever, and then you get in the shower.
Right. How many, and Robert, you'll know this, how many homes right now encompasses on top of the world, and how many are they all potential renovation situations depending on the homeowner?
Yeah, they're definitely all potential renovations, and I would say we're pretty close to about 5,000 homes right now. So it's actually
And some
over
of them built
5,000.
in the mid-'80s.
Right.
Who, back when it was a different time, when carpet was thought to be a good thing,
That's right.
when Formica countertops were thought to be a good thing.
That's right. Where smaller doorways were
Well, yeah, where
normal.
3 O's were normal.
Right. Well, two
2.8s,
two
yeah,
8s,
2.8s,
and smaller.
Even smaller, yeah.
Yeah, 2.6, 2.8. Yes.
6 to 8, yeah.
And now is the general size to make it where it's handicap accessible and all 3.6? Is that pretty much?
No, typically what we're going to do is a 2.6, or we'll go up to a 2.8 door, which is 32 inches wide.
Right.
And that allows for a wheelchair.
Absolutely. So that's what codes dictates to us. A lot of times we're putting a 3.0 door in, going in and out of the garage, giving them a little bit wider space, making a ramp. Again, so it's a little easier for them.
And
to
you'll
come
make
in and out.
ramps for you. You can do all that construction where you can, if a person becomes wheelchair bound, you can put the ramps in for them. You can change your entryway into the front doors, the back doors. All that could be done through your department through renovations.
Absolutely. We do stonework on the exterior of homes, solar generators.
Change my front porch if I wanted to. as
Room
long as-
additions, adding on whole rooms to houses. We've done all of it. It's done all of it.
hot tubs,
Yeah.
swimming pools, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any type of outdoor living space, we do pergolas, and we incorporate that again with the outdoor kitchen. And so part of the planning of that is figuring out how many people they're going to entertain with. Is it just that couple, or are they going to have 2 or 3 couples over on different occasions? And so then we start to design the space around how many people are going to be there, so that you don't have just this big open wide space that looks like a dance floor.
Yeah, 'cause a lot of these open homes look like dance floors. We were talking with Brian Runyon. He is the remodeling department manager, and of course Robert Colin from On Top of the World. Robert, talk to you next couple weeks from now.
Couple weeks from now. Yep. Look forward to it.
We'll be right back after this timeout. 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM,